I modded a case that had the worst airflow that I've ever seen into something that's not too bad. My name is Chris, this is Coalition Gaming, and today I'll be your computer technician. Real quick, if you're new around here and are into PC tech, hardware, stream tips, tutorials, gaming, all that sort of stuff, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, I stream to Twitch every Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific, so if you want to talk tech or stream tips or anything like that, stop on by, drop a follow, and let's talk. Anyways, let's get to the video. So a while back, actually around this time last year, I was tasked with building a computer for a coworker whose son's birthday was coming up pretty soon. So it was to be on a budget a little bit and ended up being a Ryzen 3 based system, which if you guys go and check out our video for like, I believe it was the $700 all-inclusive setup, I'll link it right up here and down in the description below. Rip getting that kind of deal nowadays though. But if you check out that video, that was where this case originated from. This case is the HEC HX210. I believe that's the model number, but it's definitely an HEC case. And it had the absolute worst airflow that I've ever seen. And it made me so worried that any graphics card that I put in it, and at that time it was an RX 470 and an RX 570 graphics card, either single fan or dual fan, they overheated. It overheated like crazy. The CPU didn't do too bad, but I would run Unigine Valley and within a minute or two, it would be at 85 to 90 degrees Celsius. Not usual for those cards. At that time, I happened to have an HP Z400 just sitting back here because I was prepping it for something else. And so I'm like, okay, let's just check something out here. I redid the thermal paste on the GPU, still overheated in the HEC case. So I stuck both, and this had to do with both of those graphics cards. I stuck one and then the other into the HP Z400 case that I had, and no overheating. Ran perfectly into the mid 70s at the hottest that it got, mid to high 70s. No problem, and it just stayed there at that temperature. But then I put it back in this case, basically instant overheating. It was horrible. And I ended up scrapping it. I took everything out of this case, ordered a different case, and then continued with the build, and that's the one that I turned in to my coworker, and they're very happy with it. Something that had actual proper front airflow. That was the DIY PC A9 case that I ended up going with. Again, I'll link some stuff down in the description below on that case. I actually really like that case, and for a budget build, it's pretty hard to go wrong with that selection. It's really easy to go wrong with this one from HEC, which is definitely a you get what you pay for sort of situation, with this case costing about 30 bucks. So having streamed that build originally, I got the idea from Mr. Ryu Dragon, famous mod of the Coalition Gaming stream, by the way, and big supporter of the channel, to do a video modifying the case for airflow. All right, cool. Well, it took me long enough, but we are here. So the first thing that I did with the case that's so limited on airflow was that I opened up all the rear panels. I took out all the IO plates, IO shield stuff. Any pop-out panels, I pushed them out, got all that opened up as much as possible. Second, the GPU would sit so low in the case that it was almost to the bottom of the case, which was really probably what was causing the issue, choking it from airflow. And well, what better way to get airflow up from the bottom of the case into the GPU than drilling holes in the bottom of the case? Yeah, not the prettiest solution, and probably didn't use the right tool to make it look good. But after drilling holes in the case in roughly about the size of two 120 mil fans, I had a kind of a grid setup going, but it did take a good while, a couple of hours. I used a Dremel then to also polish up the holes so they wouldn't cut you if you ran your hand across the bottom. It's still not the prettiest solution, but it's on the bottom of the case. You can't see it whether it's built or not until you look at the bottom. So out of sight, out of mind, right? All right, cool. So then I fired up Unigine Valley, and guess what? GPU peaked at 78C no matter how long I ran it. And that's great because previously that was not the case. It would get at least 10 degrees hotter in that same amount of time. Cool, right? Well, I don't know. I got kind of the modding bug in me after that. So then I set out to my local Lowe's home improvement store and I decided to try something. I recently came across these metal mesh panels that are there, and I thought to myself, that could make a good sort of front panel for cases that have just a flat front panel and are easy to swap out that panel. Well, this happens to be one of those cases where it's really easy to swap something like this out because it's just a piece of acrylic with 4 holes in it. Nothing special. And that's what I ended up doing. Now, I ended up adding my tried and true car door edge trim to sort of make the edges a little nicer, also because it's cut metal now. It won't cut you when you run your hand over it. And because it's basically sort of a mesh, well, it came out a lot better than I thought. And now, as you can see here in the front, we have airflow. Holes all over the front, right where the fans are at, for airflow. 2 fans in, 1 fan out, not counting the power supply. It's either positive pressure or neutral pressure, depending on how you look at it. So dust still shouldn't be that big of a deal, even though there's no air filters anywhere on this case. But when we're trying to maximize airflow, air filters kind of go by the wayside. Now, building in this case was definitely and also very interesting because things are so tight. And if you get a power supply that's too big, it butts up against the 3.5-inch drive. I was live on Twitch, which again, Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific, and occasional other streams, like when I built this computer, going through the motions of getting it built. And after having built it the first time around, well, it went together a lot easier than the first time around. And the fans that I use, these RGB fans, I believe they're easy. No, they're up here. There's these fans right here. Up here fans in the front, they glow real nice. And here's some B-roll checking it out in its final form. In case you were wondering, the specs on this system are a Xeon E3 1230 V3. I love me some Xeons. That's a Haswell. That's a 4th gen Xeon. On, I believe it's an Asus H81 board. Micro ATX, of course, 16 gigs of RAM, so we got dual channel, a 650 watt Corsair TX power supply. Bit of an oldie, but it's a goodie. Seems to work great. This was given to me from a friend. And what else is in there? Oh, right, the graphics card. If you kept up with the channel, you'll see that not that long ago, I got a couple of graphics cards, an RX 470 and a 570 in a used parts hunt. $100 for an RX 574 gig, and that now resides in this guy. I'll throw some benchmarks right now. So as you can see, this little guy still has some power in it. Probably 1080p gaming is where the target would be, 1080p medium, 1080p high if it's like esports titles or something. But although I guess if esports titles, most people are playing on low, whatever the case is, it's definitely a system that can play everything. And this is gonna be going to a good friend of mine, Bitcoin Louie. So yeah, it's gonna definitely go to good hands. So I hope you guys like this video. Hope you guys like the sort of mod stuff that I ended up doing with this. Sort of a ghetto mod, I guess, maybe. But I think it came out pretty good. What do you guys think? Drop a comment down below. Let's talk about it. And well, you know what to do now. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Hit that subscribe button. Would really appreciate that. Make sure to stop by our Twitch. Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/Coalition Gaming Crew. Hopefully we'll see you there. And if not, maybe you can click one of these buttons that are right over here. I'll say it like nutty. Buttons? Yeah, click one of these buttons. We got videos, all sorts of content in our archive, our catalog right over here. Check it out. YouTube doesn't push our stuff, so you guys might be missing a lot. Yeah? Okay, click one.